All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Commissioners Workshop Meeting, June 18th. I'm going to call this meeting to order. As usual, we've got some special guests tonight for Pledge of Allegiance and Invocation. Tonight we have Arledge and Lynn Castles. Arledge is an ordained minister and pastor of a nearby congregation, and Lynn is an interpreter for the deaf. She was at Campbell University for 10 years, and now she works for the Harnett County School System. They've both been associated with Andrew and Harnett County for about 25 years. So when they're ready, I'll have them join us up here and lead us in the pledge and invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Heavenly Father, as we gather for this meeting tonight, we thank you for our mayor, Bob Eustis. We thank you for our commissioners and for all who work for the town of Anger. We thank you for the volunteers who also seek to make our town a warm, inviting place to live. Lord, please grant us clarity of mind and vision. Help us find wonderful and innovative ways to meet the challenges we face as we grow together. Bless our discussions with your insight and with your inspiration. May your light guide each and every decision toward prosperity and success for our citizens. Please grant unity and harmony and a welcoming spirit among us and among our citizens. We ask for your protection in the days ahead. We trust in your divine guidance. In the name above all names, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. We've all received a copy of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
I'd like to make an amendment to the agenda that we go into closed session to discuss personnel in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A6.
All right. All those in favor of amending the agenda, raise your right hand. That's unanimous. If there are no other changes, I'll entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda.
Are we gonna want to put hang on. Table the discussion for
Do
community
we want to
development?
table it now, or we want to table it then? We could table it now. You want to make the motion?
Yeah, I'd like to table discussion for community development until next workshop meeting, so we can.
Okay, a motion has been made to table item number 5, so we can have more time to research that. All those in favor of that amendment, please raise your right hand. That's unanimous. All right. If there's no other amendments. Yes. All right, and I'll entertain a motion for the amended agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the amended agenda as spoken.
All right, all those in favor, raise your right hand. That's unanimous. All right. First thing on our agenda tonight is a public hearing. Elizabeth is going to speak to us again, hopefully for the last time, about the budget. Since this is not a quasi-judicial hearing, there's no need for anyone to be sworn in during the public hearing part of it. I'm going to let her present it to us first, and then I'll open the public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. Before you is the recommended budget for fiscal year 24-25. I'd like to thank you all for your feedback and input, and especially thank all of the staff members who worked really hard. We'll start out with the operating fund, which is the general fund. It is balanced at $8,901,257. The recommended tax rate is 49 cents, which is the same as it was in this fiscal year. The revenue neutral tax rate for properties in Wake County is 29 cents per 100. There are specific initiatives that the board has considered earlier that are included in this proposal. That's 7 new positions, 2 in Public Works, 1 in Administration, 1 for Parks and Recreation, 2 in Police Department, and a part-time assistant in Community Development. There are funds for improved equipment for the Police Department, an excavator, leaf truck, a cost of living adjustment of 3%, merit pay, a comprehensive land use plan, and funds to match a Part F grant for new park construction. Going to move on to the utility fund now. The utility fund operates as an enterprise fund. It is balanced at $4,704,080. There are a few rate increases, which we have previously spoken about. The first that I want to bring up is the water base rate, the sewer flat rate. The proposal before you is to increase 5.5%, which was the water, sewer, and trash CPI in January 2024. That would make the water base rate from $21.04 to $22.20 per month. We also discussed the regulatory rates that we charge new construction to tap onto our system. Previously, the water fee was $732 and the sewer fee was $799. As we discussed in our budget workshops, those rates had not been changed in 12 years. Our staff did an analysis to calculate the labor, material, and equipment costs that it costs the town to allow individuals to hook onto our system. And so the proposed fee for a 5/8 and 3/4 of water and 4-inch sewer is $22.50 for the water fee and $37.60 for the sewer fee. And I will go through the amended fee schedule with you. Parks and Recreation had a slight increase of $5. You'll notice throughout the fee schedule that the out-of-town rate is double what the in-town rate is. That's a pretty common standard thing. We tried to keep that the same throughout. We did decide to add a road closure fee of $500 per street. The police department previously has invoiced private individuals that hold events who need security, and they have not been included in the fee schedule. So this year it is included in the fee schedule, and that's a rate of $40 per hour. So that is one of our officers who is not working, takes an off-duty assignment to provide security at another event. The Parks and Recreation fee, the proposal is to go from $500 to $1,000 per lot, and the same for payment in lieu of open space to $1,000 a lot. Public Works site reinspection fee is going to $100 per trip. We'd also like to propose an encroachment fee to process the paperwork for Ting and Brightspeed who are coming to work into the town's right-of-way. All of the trades, the electrical, plumbing, increased to $80. We already spoke about the regulatory fees. There are no changes to system development fees. The meter charge is going from $400 to $430, and then that's for a 5/8 or 3/4 water meter. A 1-inch is going from $525 to $610. We're simply passing along the increased cost that the town has to pay. Any questions?
Doesn't look like it.
All right.
All right, so with that, I'll open the public hearing. At this time, any members of the public may come up and speak freely to make a comment or question. All right. Since nobody has come forward, I'll now close the public hearing. Is there any discussion amongst the board about the budget? I know we have discussed it at length together to get to the point we're at right now, but now's the time.
With a 49% tax rate, if there's any way possible, since we've been doing the hikes with the water, the processing for the fees and everything, if there's any way we can adjust that a couple of cents, not percentage, but cents, I would be in favor of that. I don't know how the other members of the boards feel, but I think we owe it to our constituents, if we can, we need to adjust that, even if it's a few cents.
I could appreciate that. The town has got a lot of projects that we're trying to start and catch up on. And I am thankful that we've got the money to do that right now. Between the money we raise and outside funding sources, and we're in the town as a whole is in a really good position to get a lot of these projects done. Some of them have been waiting for some time. I am content with where we're at for right now, but I'd be willing to revisit it next year maybe and see kind of what we've got on our docket then. I certainly don't think we need to tax more than we need to use, but for this year's budget, I feel like we have a use for every penny that we're getting. All right. Any other?
Let me ask you, what would drop it? Ballpark.
If we dropped it 3 cents, how much would that cut out of the budget? You're roughly talking about $70,000 a penny, I think. So it wouldn't take that much. Also, all of this has to be finalized by June 30th, but Wake County wants all of our information in 2 days so that they can begin billing people, because the tax bills go out on July 1st.
And this is the first time this has been brought up since we started our budget discussion.
To my recollection.
Because I don't
yes.
think we've discussed dropping it up until this point. Considering it would be nice to be able to say, we would also have to cut a service. We would also have to cut an equipment. I mean, something would have to be cut. We're balanced at this for a reason. That's to allow for the projects that we have ongoing and to potentially grow into more projects. So I'm definitely in favor of leaving it where it's at.
All right. If there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget as presented.
If there's no further discussion, I'll take a vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed? 2-1. All right, moving right along. New business. Jimmy is going to grace us with his presence tonight for a couple items, it looks like.
I've got the next three. Good evening, Board. Everybody's doing well tonight. A couple things before you. First, we want to start with the consideration to approve the DM2 engineering retainer agreement for fiscal year 24-25. This is Bill Drexler. He's our town engineer. He's been with the town for over 35 years. So we're just going to look at continuing his retainer through next fiscal year. And so the cost to the town is approximately about $3,000 per month on that. Bill has been instrumental in assisting Public Works, the manager, and just different variations of different things between ARPA funding, the sidewalk projects, lap projects, and so forth. So, like I said, he's been here with the town longer than I have, so it's been a great asset.
Longer than you?
Longer than me.
Oh. Jimmy, I'm just curious for my own knowledge if his fees have changed since last fiscal year.
I believe they were the same. Is that correct?
Okay.
They remain the same.
All right. Any questions for Jimmy on this one? Then I'll entertain a motion.
Go ahead and make the motion to approve the engineering retainer agreement for DM2 engineering for fiscal year 24-25.
All right. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
All right. Number 2, Jimmy.
All right, number 2. All right, number 2 is the proposed addendum to the Carolina Trash contract, which will extend the contract 2 additional years with the extended terms ending on July 1st of 2028 with no CPI increases in fiscal years 2025, which is coming up, and then 2027. So we presented that to Carolina Trash. They were agreeable to the addendum. We got in touch with Dan. Dan reviewed everything, so he was comfortable with the addendum.
Okay. So we spoke about this at a previous meeting. They're extending their contract by 2 years, or they requested to extend their contract. In turn, they're not going to raise our rate for 2 of the years that we're contracted with them.
That is correct, yes, sir.
And we all kind of agreed that the service was great, and we're excited to do it. So this is just where we sign the line on that.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any questions for Jimmy?
Where this differs, though, is that we will have CPI increases. It's just every other year instead of.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And then that's a set number based on, yes, ma'am.
All right. If there's no more questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the addendum to the Carolina Trash contract.
All those in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous.
Thank you. All right, and last but not least, utility tap policy. You've got a copy of the draft tap policy for you. So back in 2020, the board at that time really wanted to push the infield lots. So to proceed with filling in the vacant lots around town. So we started that policy, but one thing we did not add in was all the vacant lots within the ETJ. So now we're just looking, since we have the resources to be able to do that with our staffing, so any lots that are within the ETJ, we can actually go in and make water and sewer taps there. So that's really the biggest change in this policy from where the board had approved it back in 2020. And this is still for single family lots.
When I saw this, I was just curious why in the exceptions we removed the line about 5 or more lots.
Well, before it was based on what was the difference in a major subdivision and minor subdivision.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Jeff can attest to this a little bit more than me, but anything that was 5 or more was considered a major. Between 5 and under was a minor. So we didn't want to go and be making 4 or 5 taps for a developer that's coming in and developing a piece of property. This is basically for single family, single lots.
Okay. I knew you had a reason. I just wanted to hear it
Yes,
from
sir.
you.
Good question.
Does anyone else have any questions for Jimmy on this item?
Cleared everything up.
If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll go ahead and make the motion that we adopt the modified utility tap policy as presented.
All right. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you very much.
Always
Thank
a
you.
pleasure to see you.
All right. Good to be seen, sir.
All right. Chief Thompson, we get to see you tonight, too. That's always a pleasure as well.
Hope everyone's doing well tonight. A little past story. About 2 years ago, we were informed that October 2025, our handheld radios and our car radios would be obsolete. So we started panicking, looking at other options. Well, the county has that they've stepped up and done what they've done at the very beginning and furnished the cost for municipalities and county. So Harnett County Emergency Services entered into agreement funding new Motorola Viper radios pursuant to the terms of the coronavirus state and local physical recovery funds. This agreement allows Andrew Police Department to lease 22 portables and 22 mobile radios from Harnett County Emergency Service at no cost to the town. I come before you this evening to recommend that the board approve the agreement with Harnett County Emergency Services.
All right, so basically, they are going to give us radios that we don't have to pay for. We're going to lease them from them
Correct.
for nothing. But if we break them or lose them, that's on us.
That's correct.
So it's like checking a book out at the library.
Yep.
I don't break them or lose them. I'm sure you already knew that.
Yep.
All right. Are there any questions for Chief Thompson on this item?
If I'm not mistaken, we were going to fill out a grant to purchase these ourselves, correct?
We were in the process of trying to handle this situation on our own. By doing so, we were looking at Kenwood radios.
Right,
You can
remember
get
that.
them a lot cheaper. It's not the quality of the Motorola's, but we were granted one grant, so we will have a few extra handheld radios.
So basically, they just saved us almost $1 million.
They saved us probably $250,000.
$250,000, I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's
Perfect.
a blessing.
That is.
That is a blessing.
I'm very thankful they stepped in to do it. I'm also happy to know that you were not just sitting around hoping for that to happen,
No,
that
we-
you
we
were on
giving
it.
out grants.
We were not going to be without radios.
That's right.
Perfect.
All right. If there are no further questions, I'll entertain a motion for this item.
I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the agreement with Harnett County for the new Motorola Viper radios.
All right. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous.
Thank y'all.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Chief. All right, item 5 we have tabled, so we'll move on to item 6. Elizabeth is going to present to us the building inspections agreement with Harnett County as we make our transition.
Well, I'm proud to report that we have a building inspector, a chief building inspector, and a building inspections trainee, and that the software build is almost complete. During the interim time, we needed to work out with Harnett County at which point we were going to transition away from them taking new inspections and our inspector taking the inspections. So the agreement before you is that Harnett County will take any inspection that has reached rough end stage on or before June 30th, and they will continue that until certificate of occupancy. Anything prior to rough end stage will fall to the town of Anger. The contract that we had with them previously was $88,000 a year. They have prorated it to a monthly fee, and it's a step down. So the first month is the full monthly amount, and then slightly less the next 2 months. And so we anticipate having all of those inspections completed, all of those houses or whatever structures at CO by the end of September. They have also agreed to allow us to continue to have access to their portal should we need to review that. And if there is a failed inspection on June 28th and they don't call till September 28th, it's still going to fall to them.
Okay.
Any questions?
I know it's not exactly what we wanted, but I think it's pretty good. For those who don't know, I'm in construction, so if they have done a rough-in inspection, which would include wiring, plumbing, HVAC, mechanical, and the framing structural components, if they have done those inspections, they will carry that through to the end, because by the time final inspections happen, you can't see any of that. So it would be kind of weird for us to approve a final if we didn't see the bones and the guts of everything. The only thing that we are not getting out of this is there's potential, certainly there will be cases where the county has done inspections such as putting foundation, zoning, kind of out of the ground stuff before a structure is built. I know we kind of wanted them to take it from there, but I'm all right with what's been proposed. There's still a record moving forward that Harnett County did approve those inspections. building inspections is kind of a pass the buck on liability if there's ever a problem. So I think we're pretty well protected on this, and then we have records of other inspections that have been
And
done.
that's part of the reason to have the portal is so that our inspectors can go back and reference notes.
Mm-hmm.
How long will we have access to the portal for? Is there a end date?
I don't know that it says.
It did. I don't think it said end, so that's why I was. Until such time as all uncompleted building projects, but
Okay.
so I guess September.
Yeah.
So I'm all right with this contract, but I'd be curious to know moving forward if I don't even know if there's a way, but if there's a way for us to, those projects that they have done footing and foundation and we've picked up on, if there's a way we could somehow import them into our system for record keeping down the road. I'm not sure. I don't think that affects the contract, but it's something I'd be curious to know if we could figure out. Any other questions for Elizabeth on this?
Thanks for negotiating on behalf of the town.
I know you worked really hard on that. Yeah.
You're welcome.
All right. If there's no further questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the Building Inspection Services Agreement, Amendment 1.
All right. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Elizabeth, you have the next one. It says for lead service lines.
So back in December, the board gave us the permission to approve for a grant to find and replace any service lines that may have lead or galvanized components. Lead was ceased to be used in plumbing after 1987, so we don't have a ton of those, but we are required by the EPA to find, inventory, and then also replace any of those that have the lead or galvanized components. So what you have before you is the proposal for the scope of work from Withers Ravenel. I do realize that there's due dates of May 1st and June 1st in there. DWI awarded so much money and they couldn't get the letters of funding out, and so everybody's kind of a little bit backed up right now. So they have granted the town an extension on getting the scope of work back to them. Any questions?
Does that deadline offset affect any of the other dates further down on this chart? Like,
Not-
are they going to extend for all of those, or do you think we'll be able to catch up?
I
to
think we'll
those?
be able to catch up.
Okay. All right. That's the only question I have. Anyone else have any questions for Elizabeth? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the task order 3 with Withers Ravenel.
There's no discussion. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. All right, Elizabeth, you have one more for us here.
Okay. So every municipality and county at the end of the year has to true up their accounts, meaning they have to recognize revenue collected that they did not budget for and expenditures, whether there's overages, and then true up their accounts to balance. So what you have before you is recognizing revenues in Fund 10 or decreasing. Some of them did decrease, but overall we expect to collect an additional $304,000 of revenue that we did not budget for. And then there are a few line items in each of the departments where there were overages, namely finance, the credit card fees. It should have been budgeted $100,000 and it was only budgeted $5,000, which Samantha talked to you all about a couple months ago. The police department has requested to move funds in their contingency line to complete their training facility, and they're requesting to use $25,000 for that. You approved raises in the Parks Department, and so we have to do the budget amendment to account for that. We also have Pump Station 1 and 6, which was originally bid out in 2021, and so there was an overage. Of course, we can't just stop building the pump station. It's required. So There's a budget amendment to move $843,000 from system development fees to the pump station project to true it up. I think I covered all of them, but happy to answer questions.
Okay, so I've never been through this myself, but my understanding is this is end of fiscal year housekeeping. The end of each fiscal year, it's got to zero out. So we're just moving stuff around to account for that.
That's right.
Any questions for Elizabeth on this one? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the budget amendment number 9 for this fiscal year.
All right, all those in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. All right, old business. Jeff Jones, we get to see you again about the ordinance amendment for Commerce Park zoning.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. So tonight, we will hopefully take care of this ordinance amendment, which, if we sort of refresh our memory, we had an applicant who came in and requested to have retail uses, community retail uses, which would limit those building sizes to 15,000 square feet or less. And a part of that, his request was also to have banquet facilities and personal services to be located in Commerce Park. So we've had a lot of discussion here at the board meetings, and there's been a lot of research done and a lot of contemplation about how to move forward with this amendment. In your packet, I included a couple of suggestions on making retail uses conditional zoning, and including retail uses as an accessory to a primary use up to 25% of the floor area. So this week and leading up to the meeting tonight, I did a little research and broke down community, general commercial, and Commerce Park. What's different between those two zoning districts? Well, there's not a whole lot difference. So there are 96 total uses that are allowed in either community or in both zoning districts. And of those 96 uses, 53 are permitted or a special use in both zoning districts. So they're the same, essentially. There are 32 uses that are allowed only in general commercial, and then there are 11 uses that are only allowed in Commerce Park. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at Commerce Park, and so what are those uses that are only allowed in Commerce Park? So those uses are the ones where they would have the most impact on the town or the area in which they would want to be sited. And those are adult establishments, shooting ranges, airports, assembling or packing, equipment or machinery repair and service, foundries producing iron and steel products, hazardous material storage, indoor and outdoor, junkyards, heavy manufacturing, research facilities, and warehouse uses as an accessory to. So every town has to provide for a place for these types of uses, including adult establishments. You have to have a zoning district that could allow for that to occur in our town. This Commerce Park is where this would be located if all the criteria were met and a special use permit was granted. So I think what we should look at Commerce Park is not something to hold closely in regard as something where we want to keep and not mess up the cart, because Commerce Park really is heavy industrial. That's where you're going to find your undesirable uses. So retail is not an undesirable use in the town of Angier. We want retail. We want banquet facilities. We want personal services. If they happen to want to locate in Commerce Park, okay, but that retail establishment needs to understand that a smelting plant could locate next to them, or an adult establishment could locate next to them. So it's not something where we are, I think we were thinking that if we allowed retail in any form, that would be a deterrent for another use to come in. Well, actually, what retail could do is be a good thing to keep adult establishments, smelting plants, foundries out of CP. Because there's, as we've talked about, there's limited availability of those lands right now. So if we have those desired uses, such as retail and commercial, in community or in Commerce Park, great. So I think the exercise of going through and thinking about retail and how that might impact Commerce Park was fruitful. It certainly gave us some more insight on those two zoning districts, General Commercial and Commerce Park. But really what Commerce Park is our heavy industrial zoning, where all those undesirable things could go. So why wouldn't we want to have desirable things go in there as well to take place instead of those undesirable things? What I could see in the future is us creating a true heavy industrial zoning, removing things that we want from Commerce Park, like research facilities. That's clean industry, clean things that we want to, that are not impactful, like a smelting plant might be, or an adult establishment might be. So we might create another zoning district after the comprehensive plan process that pulls some of these uses out and creates a whole different zoning district. With that being said, retail, personal services, banquet facility, those aren't undesirable. So I think we may be just sort of creating too much from the request, and that retail, it's okay. That's what we desire in town. Yes, there could be the ability to have a undesirable retail, but we have so limited lands that are zoned Commerce Park that is vacant at the moment, that, again, we would want that desirable use to take up that available land and not that undesirable use. So in promoting a desirable use over a undesirable use, you're actually getting what Andrew wants. So if there's somebody who the applicant is talking to that wants to do retail or wants to do banquet facility, that's what we want. We don't want him coming to us saying, we'd like to put an asphalt plant here, because that could be in Commerce Park. We don't want somebody coming saying we want an adult establishment. That could be what we have. So we should be wanting the things that he's asked for in the town of Angier. So again, it's been a long process to get where we are. I think it was fruitful to understand what Commerce Park is and what General Commercial is. They are separate. They are distinct. You need both. But it's okay if we have retail, personal services, banquet facilities. That's what we want. And so I can answer any questions that you all have. But that's sort of, after my analysis over the last few days, that's where I've gotten to. Yeah.
What is your opinion about the 25%?
Well,
What about if we went to 45?
so my
Kept your
opinion is
threshold
that you just
50?
allow retail.
Okay.
I want to thank you, because I know this is your job. This is what you do, is understand stuff like this. And
Right.
some of us up here, myself included, couldn't fully wrap my head around this. And so I appreciate you helping us to understand it. I appreciate the patience of the people who are waiting on us to make a decision for this.
Right.
I came to kind of a similar thought myself during this, which was, in my head, I will consider what happens, right? I don't see a retail business hurting the business of other industrial businesses in the same area.
Right.
If they opened a retail business in Commerce Park, it wouldn't stop a pallet factory from coming in to build pallets or some other industrial use like that. They wouldn't be affected by retail.
Right.
If anything, it would be the other way around. So it would be a person who wanted to do retail in Commerce Park would have to seriously consider what could happen around them
Absolutely.
and take that risk on their own
Right.
to decide if they think they could still flourish in that spot
Right.
with what other potential things could happen around them that are already allowed in Commerce Park.
Right.
We certainly are experiencing a shortage of general commercial space as a whole. And when we're trying to set a tone of encouraging that and welcoming that and inviting that, I think this would be in that spirit.
Absolutely.
I won't get to vote tonight either way, but I wanted to thank you for
It's been
helping
a,
us.
It's been a challenging exercise, but,
Uh-huh.
but again, a fruitful one. And I came to the conclusion after much discussion and research into what was the actual request versus what the uses could be in Commerce Park. And those uses that could be on those vacant pieces of property are more harmful than retail or personal services or banquet facilities.
Yeah, because I was considering when this was first brought to us, oh no, what could happen? What could happen? What's the worst that could happen?
Well, the worst that could happen is an adult establishment, or
Well, that is already.
right.
Right.
But if
But
we,
what if we let retail in? What's the worst that could happen?
Right.
Is a park
right,
gets filled with retail establishments, and that's not actually a bad thing. I don't think so.
and the market will drive
Mm-hmm.
what goes on these parcels.
Certainly.
So I would go back to my original suggestion of a motion to approve the applicant's request to add retail services, community, personal services, and banquet facilities in Commerce Park.
All right. Are there any more questions for Jeff while we have him up here? Any discussion amongst the board?
I just think that if possible, we ought to increase the percentage rate of floor area from 25 to 45.
Well, Jeff is
I
suggesting.
know, but
Okay.
I want it,
Well,
To be
I would,
documented.
that use wouldn't exist.
okay,
That-
so it wouldn't then.
So it would just be community retail.
Okay, so just take that completely out
That,
then.
that line would not be, because
Okay.
we don't need that any longer.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
As long as it's not hindering anything.
No.
I'm all for that.
To confirm, the property that we're speaking of is outside of town limit.
There are some Commerce Park zone properties that are within the town limits, and there are some that that are outside.
The applicant's property is outside of town limit.
Correct.
Yeah. So the person who brought it to us has parcels that are zoned Commerce Park and is trying to fill them.
Yes.
It happens that he is in the ETJ only.
Correct.
And so we would not benefit either way from any business. We wouldn't
Right.
benefit
The tax base would
fiscally.
not
Right,
it would not
Right.
support the town of Anger.
Correct.
right. But the decisions we need to make tonight are not about the applicant's property, but this zoning district at large across the town.
Right.
But don't forget, you want to generate people coming to Andrews. So if there's more of a variety of businesses, it's better for us. Because if they're coming in from Lillington and they see, okay, we have retail space over here, well, this is really nice. Well, let me venture further on downtown Andrew. And then you have the broader spectrum of different businesses and clientels. So it's best to do something, because when that bypass comes, you don't want them just to pass Andrew by. You want to invite them in. So what better way to do than to have something nice out there?
I think that's a good point, LaRue.
Thank you.
All right, if there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we go ahead and allow the retail as accessory to use up the no percentage of floor
Just
area
retail.
for retail
Community,
and community.
right? And are you okay with personal services? and
Personal
banquet
services,
facilities?
yes, all of them.
And banquet hall.
And banquet halls,
Yeah.
venues, we need those.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, does everyone understand the motion? Any discussion? All right, then, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed? It's 2-1.
Okay, thank you, board.
Thank you, Jeff. All right, that's the last thing on the agenda for open session, so I will entertain a motion to go into closed session.
I'll make the motion that we go ahead and end open session, go into closed session for personnel.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. With that, we are going to close our open session. We'll ask you guys to clear out so we can have closed session. Thank you, guys.